All right, good evening. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy and Chief David-Reimer. It's 11:25 on the 8th of January, 2022. We've got a tornado warning in a highly populated area. This is for northern Fort Bend County, southern Montgomery County, and central Harris County in southeast Texas. This does include the northwestern portion of the Houston Metro, Before we get into the what is going on, let's talk about who's in the tornado warning and who is not. So I'm going to turn the radar data off. Here's your tornado warning polygon in red. So again, we do have a lot of population in this. Let me get some other data on my screens real quick, and then we'll go into it. Again, this is a tornado warning until 11:45 for portions of Fort Bend, Montgomery, and Harris counties in southeast Texas. That does include the northwestern part of the Houston Metro. So just going over a couple of towns, this includes Mission Bend, Attucks, Hunters Creek Village, Jersey Village, North Houston, Aldine, Mount Houston, Houston Bush Intercontinental Airport, Westfield, Spring, and Humble. Now we've got two circulations from two separate thunderstorms we're keeping an eye on. So let's go ahead and dive on in and we'll get to it. And by the way, you can keep an eye on the sky with the Texas Storm Chasers interactive weather radar on our website and in our mobile app, texasstormchasers.com/radar. Two storms, two circulations. First circulation is going to be very near Mission Bend, moving to the northeast at about 30 miles an hour. This circulation will be crossing over Highway 6 near Interstate 10 in the next 5 to 10 minutes. We're generally expecting this to move northeast towards Hunters Creek Village, Spring Valley, and the south sides of Jersey Village. Again, that's one potential tornado. Second potential tornado is, well, not in an area we haven't dealt with already today. This is going to be coming up towards Spring. It's currently northeast of Highway 249. Let me get some road names on here. It's going to be Cypress Wood Drive. Apologies, I'm just getting these names on here. Okay, so it's going to be around Cypress Creek, Spring Cypress Road, Cypress Wood Drive, heading up towards Interstate 45. Again, this circulation is moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour as well. So we have two potential tornadoes at this time. We have one potential tornado. This is going to be coming up into Spring. We have a second possible tornado in the western Houston Metro, currently in Mission Bend, north of Sugarland, south of Attucks, moving northeast towards Attucks and Hunters Creek Village. We'll switch back over to the which way the wind's blowing mode, and you can see that circulation more clearly. Green colors are winds moving towards the weather radar down in Dickinson. That's in the South Houston Metro. Wind colors in the red, winds moving away. You can see we've got a fairly broad circulation, but this storm has shown indications of attempting to organize further. So we take a look at the how hard it's raining mode. You can see we've definitely got a hook echo. It's not the most clear-cut hook echo we've seen today, but it is also an indication we may be dealing with a rain-wrapped circulation if we do indeed have a brief tornado occur. Again, this is like the storms earlier this evening. We probably had a brief tornado near Montgomery earlier this evening, north of Houston. We've had brief tornadoes earlier this afternoon, one of which was near Intercontinental Airport on the southeast side. You may have seen video of that from Loop 8. So again, that's your velocity data for southern circulation. Northern circulation right now, very near Louetta Road, coming up to about maybe a mile southwest of Interstate 45. This circulation is going to be passing over Spring, very near Interstate 45 and Highway 99 within the next 10 minutes. So those of you in Spring need to take your tornado safety precautions. Same thing goes for those of you in Jersey Village, Attucks, Hunters Creek Village, up into Aldine. It's going to be your lowest floor, center room. Center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. I want you to put on some hard sole shoes in case you do have the unfortunate circumstance of having a brief tornado touchdown on your street. That way you won't have to walk over any sharp pieces of glass or other miscellaneous debris. And again, this tornado warning does not include downtown Houston. It does not include Bel Air. It does not include South Houston. Southeast Houston does not include Eastern Harris County. If you're in the warning polygon, the red box here, you're in the warning. If you're not, you're outside it, you're fine. You don't need to do anything. Just keep an eye on the sky, and everything will be okay. So I'm just looking at some data on a different monitor. Again, potential for a brief tornado. My apologies. I'm still just looking at some data. So again, we could have a brief tornado currently approaching spring, coming up on, let's see, that's going to be just east of T.C. Jester Boulevard, coming up on Spring Cypress Road. Eventually, this is going to be crossing over, what is that, loop? Excuse me, Highway 99 and Interstate 45. Then it'll come into spring proper and cross over the Hardy Toll Road. So again, this is moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Again, we're not talking about long track significant tornadoes here, but the kind that can stay down for maybe a few seconds up to a minute and produce some roof damage, etc. But you still need to take them seriously, because if by chance you do have a tornado come down your street, that flying miscellaneous debris can break windows and definitely cause great bodily harm if you are not sheltered in a safe interior room. Let's go back to the southern circulation, okay? This one's going to be, I'll make sure I've actually got this data up to date. It looks like it is. This one's going to be over State Highway 6, coming up to Interstate 10. We're talking about Addicts. Addicts is essentially in this general area. So let me put the road telestrator back on. We'll get to looking at a more zoomed in area. And again, if you see your street on here, well, for one, you need to be in a safe place, and two, don't wait for me to say it verbally. Go ahead and just seek shelter. I mean, your phones have probably gone nuts. You're in a tornado warning, so again, we're talking about the southern storm circulation coming up over State Highway 6 right now, probably crossing over and just east of it near Interstate 10. Once it gets north of Interstate 10, we're going to be talking about places like Shorewood Forest Street, Clay Road, moving towards State Loop 8, and the south side of Jersey Village. Again, I'm just trying to put some streets on here so folks are able to recognize some landmarks in their area, because we know from various studies that most folks don't know how to find their location on a map, which is not a great thing when you live in a state with 254 counties, but it is what it is. So we haven't heard any ground truth of a tornado at this time. We're talking about radar indicating rotation. As we switch back over to the how hard it's raining mode, we'll go back north, talk about the northern circulation. And this one is comparatively less defined than the southern circulation, which is a good thing, but still it's capable of putting a brief tornado down as it moves up Louetta Road towards Interstate 45 and into Spring, crossing over the HD. I'm going to make sure I get it right, my apologies. The Hardy Toll Road in Spring. So if you're in Spring, you should have been sheltering. Your phones went berserk 5 to 10 minutes ago. If you are in Spring Valley all the way down into Jersey Village, Addicts, you need to be in a safe place as well, as that storm is capable of also producing a brief tornado. Again, it doesn't matter if the tornado's down for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 minutes, etc. If it comes down your street, you're going to have a problem. So that's why we want folks to take them seriously. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And some folks asked earlier, a couple hours ago, are tornadoes in southeast Texas unusual for January? The answer is no. The winter season, the cool season, given the relatively close proximity to the Gulf of Mexico, it doesn't take a whole lot of it doesn't take long for a more unstable air mass to move in. So, no, this is the cool season for southeast Texas. We've seen this is actually more of a typical tornado season for the Houston area than, say, later in spring, where we're talking about May, when stuff is generally further north, North Texas, West Texas, etc. So, no, there's nothing unusual about this per se. And, I mean, it's Texas. Severe weather can happen any month out of the year, and that's why we're here doing tornado coverage 8 days into 2022. So, again, those of you in the Houston Metro, good evening. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David-Reimer. It is 11:35 on the 8th of January, 2022, a Saturday night. We've got a tornado warning for portions of, well, let's just go ahead and read the warning. Northern Fort Bend, southern Montgomery, and central Harris counties in southeast Texas. This does include the northwestern half of the Houston Metro, but does not technically include the city of Houston. We're talking about a circulation coming into the city of Spring and a circulation very near Attucks, which is on Interstate 10 and Highway 6 on the west side of the Houston Metro. We'll switch back over to the which way the wind's blowing mode, and we'll see if we can pick out these circulations. We'll go ahead and I will telestrate accordingly. And we've got one coming into Spring, another over Attucks. Both these moving northeast, about 30 miles an hour. Yes, my drawing skills are about as well as my writing skills, at least my physical writing. It's called dysgraphia, and if you've never heard of it, look it up. Essentially means you probably wouldn't be able to read my handwriting, but thankfully I've been blessed with about 130 to 150 word per minute typing ability, so works out well. So that is what we're looking at there, two circulations, and those two circulations are why we have a tornado warning at 11:37 this evening, and why most of your cell phones just went berserk within the last 10 minutes. Again, no reason to freak out, no reason to panic, no reason to get super anxious over this. We're not talking about a long-lived tornado threat where we've got mile-wide tornadoes taking out a city. This is not that. We're talking about the potential for some brief spin-up tornadoes that could be down for a few seconds, maybe a minute, a couple hundred yards long path, maybe a mile, and then maybe a few tens of yards wide. These tornadoes typically do not cause significant widespread destruction, but can definitely cause damage in terms of blowing fences down, knocking trees down, causing roof damage, etc. And we definitely don't want folks being injured by any sort of flying debris that may come from that, which is why we want folks to take their tornado safety precautions. So again, if we were to use a different product here to show you rotation, one there in Attucks, you've got one here coming into Spring. Switch to a different product, see if that works, and yeah, you can definitely tell what we've got going on. You can definitely see the southern circulation near Attucks is comparatively stronger than the circulation coming into Spring, which, looking at raw data, I agree with. If we compare over the last 10 minutes, I'd say the northern storm coming into Spring looks a little less organized than it did 10 minutes ago. The southern storm is either the same intensity or maybe a little stronger, so that's why we've got a tornado warning. And that's why we're here. So if you're in Spring, go ahead and take your tornado safety precautions for about another 10 minutes. This first storm will come on by. You'll get some quick, heavy rain and gusty winds. Probably can't rule out a brief tornado. Southern circulation near Attucks is definitely the more concerning of the two at the moment. Switch back over to the which way the wind's blowing mode, and yeah, you can definitely see we've got some rotation. It's not your clear-cut, super-duper tight rotation where we've got bright red against the bright greens. We'll go ahead and take a look at the debris tracker, and we'd be looking for a little blue donut within the area of rotation here, and that would indicate the radar is detecting airborne debris or debris being lofted by a tornado. A tornado, simply put, is an updraft. It's an area of rapidly rising air, like a thunderstorm when the clouds bubble up. It's the same exact thing, except it's at the surface, and obviously a considerably more focused, violent version of it. It's an updraft, so if a tornado hits something, that debris, per se, is lofted. Pieces like leaves, twigs, shingles, etc. And we're looking probably within 1,000 feet of the surface here, so the radar would typically be able to detect that debris, and it would show up on this product as an area of blue, because when you're looking at a small area like this, you put all the radar data into a computer algorithm. Raindrops, hailstones, etc., if we're talking about hydrometeors, precipitation, it's all relatively the same size and shape in this small area. Pieces of debris like leaves, fence posts, shingles, all that is of varying size and shape. So that is how a computer algorithm is able to compute that data visually into a product we call correlation coefficient or tornado debris. This product was originally made about 10 years ago to find the where rain changed over to snow, the rain snow line. In which case we'd be talking about snowflakes melting into ice crystals, and then that ice crystal melting into raindrops, and all of that is of varying shapes and sizes within a small area, and that would show up as blue as well. But it has been an amazing product to detect tornado debris. So we're not seeing a debris signature at this point. I've nerded out enough over that. I hope some of you have enjoyed the science lesson. But we do have an area of rotation coming up on Willcrest Drive within a mile of Interstate 10. This will be crossing over Loop 8 near or just south of Interstate 10 over the next 5 minutes. And some of this radar data I want to keep in mind is about 3 minutes old. Radar data takes time to populate into a system. It's not just a radar antenna spinning around constantly looking at the same area. The radar we use actually tilts up as well, up to about 20 degrees in height, which is how we're able to see what's going on at the surface, but how we're also able to see what's going on loft in a thunderstorm, hail detection, etc. So that process takes time. So we usually will get a new scan every 2 to 5 minutes. And based on the radar mode, we can get them a little more frequently. So we do know that earlier a steakhouse near Montgomery was hit by either damaging straight line winds or a possible tornado. That was over an hour ago at this point, not right now. Let's go back to the northern circulation, and this storm is exiting the tornado warning to the northeast. They have not extended the tornado warning up here. I don't think they're going to. So those of you in spring, from this northern circulation, you're fine. I want you to keep an eye out further to the southwest, but northern storm that is in Oak Ridge North, Woodlock, west of Wood Branch, coming up on Highway 242, as it's on 99 right now. Tornado warning hasn't been extended. The circulation looks a lot weaker. Our main concern is now going to be with this southern storm relatively, which does have a comparatively stronger circulation as we zoom on in. So this tornado warning goes through. Meet my man. Yeah, it's been my night so far. Falling stuff everywhere off my desk, but I'm gonna drink some caffeine. Excuse me. I'll be honest, we said there was a very low risk for tornadoes today, but it kind of has overperformed in the aspect we've had several brief tornadoes. I honestly have not expected to be doing severe weather coverage off and on throughout the evening, up to about 2 hours now. So that wasn't on the itinerary today, but Mama Nature don't care. That's the nicest way I can put it. Mama Nature does not care whatsoever. So it looks like we're going to have a new tornado warning now for Harris County. You see that just populated the system, so I'm going to turn the radar data off. Here's the new tornado warning, and this is going to be through 12:15. So time is 11:44 now. This will be through 12:15 Sunday morning. This new tornado warning, I'll go ahead and read out who's in and who is not. This new tornado warning will include Piney Point. Not Piney Point, excuse me. Let me make sure this has all the city labels on. This new tornado warning will remain north of Bel Air. It includes Hunters Creek Village. It includes the north side of the Houston Metro. It includes Aldine. It does not include Intercontinental Airport or Humble. It does not include Spring. This tornado warning does not include any part of eastern Harris County. It does include North Houston, Jersey Village, Mount Houston. Essentially, if you're in the Sam Houston Parkway between, let's say, the Essex Freeway and, the West Sam Houston Tollway on the west side, you're in this tornado warning. So, say from State Highway 6, Interstate 10, and Loop 8, all the way up to the tollway on the north side of town, just southwest of Intercontinental Airport, including Aldine, Mount Houston, North Houston, Jersey Village, Hunters Creek Village, Addicts, north sides of Houston, you're in the tornado warning. Everyone else, you're not. No warnings. You're fine. Go about your evening. So with that being said, let's zoom back in now that we're down to one storm. Let me go ahead and populate some additional roads on here, kind of thinking ahead. Kind of working up here while we have a minute. Note to self, I need to redo the road names in a different color font. That will be a project for after tonight. So there's a couple roads. So now that we've got that done, let me go ahead. We'll switch over from the how hard it's raining mode to the which way the wind's blowing mode. And yeah, circulation is coming up on Interstate 10 and Loop 8 right now. It is not the most concise, concentrated area of rotation I've ever seen. I'll go ahead and explain that a bit further by turning the telestration tool on. See how we're about to get a radar scan update. Let me wait, and then we'll go ahead and see what the latest scan shows, and then I can draw and explain some things. But as we wait for that new scan, let me first off be clear. If there is a tornado down, you're not going to see it. It's going to be completely and utterly wrapped in very heavy rainfall. So don't go outside trying to look for the thing. You're not going to see it. Second, if we do have a tornado down, it is likely right almost at Interstate 10 and Loops 8 right now. How do I know that? We switch over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, which you'll see here in detail in just a moment as it updates. That might actually be the update. But again, winds heading away from the radar down in Dickinson, south side of Houston, about 40 to 45 miles an hour. Winds moving towards the radar at about 10 to 15. So it's not super strong rotation, but it's organized enough, it's consistent enough that we're concerned about there being the potential for a brief tornado. And again, if we do have a brief tornado, it will be completely wrapped in rain and likely invisible to the human eye, unless you are hit by it, in which case you'll know, because there's going to be stuff flying around. It's going to be a little windy. But you shouldn't be looking at it or trying to see it. You should be on the lowest floor, center room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. This potential tornadic circulation will remain west and north of downtown Houston, moving up from Hunters Creek Village towards Mount Houston and Aldine. Technically included in this warning is Jersey Village and North Houston. I think this is going to be more of an issue for Aldine, Mount Houston, Hunters Creek Village, and Spring Valley over the next several minutes to 20 minutes, unless the circulation and parent thunderstorm tend to veer a little more to the left. If that happens, yes, that would place areas like Jersey Village and North Houston, the town, which is up near 249 and the tollway, in play. But regardless, you're in the tornado warning polygon. You've got alarms going off. You should definitely seek shelter. but we have not heard any ground confirmation of a tornado. We've not seen any indications on radar that there is debris being lofted, but this storm could put down a brief tornado, like we've seen a couple of other storms do this evening. In all likelihood, any tornado would be short-lived and on the weak side, but, I mean, you still, and if you're taking shelter, lowest room, center floor you can get, you'll be fine. But we definitely don't want folks driving out in this. Even if there's not a tornado, we're likely seeing some wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. We could have, well, there's very heavy rainfall, making driving difficult. Here's the latest velocity scan from the radar site. Let me go ahead and we'll plot some roads on here again. It's going to be Piney Point Road. And this is a residential area, so mind you, I'm just pulling out residential streets. I'm trying not to overpopulate the screen with names, because that would just make things quite busy, but I want to give folks who live in this area a general idea of where I'm talking about. The product we're looking at is called velocity data. It indicates which direction winds in the relative area are moving. So colors in red, that's going to be your winds moving away from the radar site down in Dickinson. Let me get the telestrator on. Winds moving away from the radar site in Dickinson, moving northwest. Then back here, you've got winds moving towards the radar site in Dickinson. This general area right here is where we have broad rotation and a circulation capable of producing a brief tornado. Near State Loop 8 and Interstate 10, west of Houston, coming into Spring Valley, Hedwick Village, Hunters Creek Village, Piney Point Village. So, most of these areas I don't even think have outdoor warning sirens, which is fine. Folks rely on those outdoor warning sirens way too often. Most folks watching this at least likely have a cell phone, and if you haven't disabled emergency alerts, you likely know there's a tornado warning because your phone probably emulated a screaming banshee of sorts about 5 to 10 minutes ago, and for that I'm sorry, but you know, it got your attention. Again, we're dealing with a radar-indicated area of rotation, a circulation capable of producing a brief tornado. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch to a different product real quick. It's going to look a little different, but I want to loop it. Just create a half an hour loop. My apologies, the data is going to look a bit weird, but you can see the general motion with this circulation is off to the northeast. It almost looks like this turned a little more to the right versus its original motion. It was kind of moving north-northeast. Now it seems we are moving more to the northeast. So take that as you may. This could be moving more towards the Aldine area, Hunters Creek Village, Mount Houston, and the north sides of Houston proper. So that's a loop over the last 30 minutes. I'll do the same thing with the radar reflectivity. And again, this isn't your typical supercell. We're dealing with a high precipitation version of a supercell, where if we do have a tornado, you're not likely to see it. It is completely shrouded in very heavy rainfall. We're aware this thunderstorm's producing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. It's loud. It is proud. We've got gusty winds with the heavy rain, probably some minor street flooding as well. So that is what we have going on. We'll switch back over to the high-resolution radar data. And again, if we have a tornado, it's likely just west of this Hunters Creek Village label. As we look at the velocity data, you can see kind of where the strongest velocity data is around Interstate 10 near Hedwick Village, coming up to Blalock Road. Looking at this up here, that might be intensifying. My apologies. I know I looked around, but those of you in Woodbranch, Splendora, Heads up, the circulation up north with the original storm that was near spring may be starting to take on a more organized nature to it again. So those of you in Woodbranch, Splendora, Cudden-Chute, I love that name, Woodlock, Shenandoah, Oak Ridge North, east of Interstate 45, kind of moving almost towards Cleveland. Keep an eye on this northern storm. It does appear to be trying to organize a bit in the rotation department again. No tornado warning at this time, but we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Hello, Mr. McCone. So we've got a tornado warning for Harris County. This is going to be in the Houston Metro, west and north sides of the Houston Metro. This will be with a thunderstorm capable of producing a brief tornado. Very near Spring Valley, Hedwick Village, Hunters Creek Village, Piney Point Village. Let's go ahead and give some folks, some who are no longer under the gun, some clearing. If you're in Addicks, west of State Loop 8, you're good, you're cleared to go. This circulation definitely does appear to be intensifying a bit. No debris being lofted, but let me show you what I'm talking about. We've got winds about 60 miles an hour moving away from the radar, winds moving towards the radar about 40. So we've got a 100 mile per hour circulation now versus the 60 we had 5 minutes ago. So the circulation itself is ramping up in intensity, thus increasing the potential we could have a tornado produced at any time. So those of you in Hunters Creek Village up north, this is going to be Bingle Road, Hempstead Road, Chimney Rock Road, Long Point Road, Blaylock Road, all the way up to Highway 290. You need to be in your safe places. The potential for a tornado is increasing, if not already ongoing. Again, this is the strongest we've seen the circulation look all evening. The strongest velocity signature we've seen in a couple hours now. So, if you're in Spring Village, Hedwick Village, Hunters Creek Village, north, this is going to be Bingle Road. Heading up north on Bingle Road. Those of you on West 43rd Street, you need to be in a safe place. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. The potential for a tornado is definitely on the increase here, as the velocity data has also ramped up with a now 100 mile per hour gate-to-gate circulation. Remember when I said when we start having the bright greens against the bright reds and pinks? Well, here you go. That's definitely an example of that. We're seeing an uptick. So those of you in west central Harris County, you need to be in your safe place. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And we do not see debris yet, but given the velocity signature, I wouldn't be shocked if we get a tornado debris signature the next scan. So, and we do. Okay, so we now do have a confirmed tornado in progress just northwest of Spring Valley. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. This is a tornado debris signature in conjunction with an area of strong rotation. So, head back over. First, it's in the middle of the range. Second, when the velocity data updates, you'll see the actual circulation. So, again, we've got a confirmed tornado now just north of Interstate 10 near Hedwick Village. This is a confirmed tornado doing damage based on the tornado debris signature we now have on radar. In fact, let me switch back over. That little blue donut, it's not a screaming tornado debris signature, but it is nevertheless an indication we do have a tornado that was at least down briefly that has produced damage, because that is an indication we have debris being lofted into the air. We're looking about 2,300 feet above the surface. So it could be pieces like leaves, twigs, shingles, etc. that have been lofted by at least a brief tornado. So again, a confirmed tornado now about half a mile to a mile north of Hedwick Village, likely near Hammerley Boulevard, coming up to Blaylock Road. So again, that's what we're talking about, these brief tornadoes that can spin up really quick and stay down for maybe a minute, causing issues. So again, let me zoom back in. You can see it. It's not a screaming debris signature, mind you, but it is one. First off, when we're looking for a debris signature, you make sure it coincides with the circulation. It does. Reds and greens touching right there. Make sure it's in an area of precipitation, not just some sort of radar interference or ground clutter. It's in the middle of a heavy rain core, so yeah, it's confirmed tornado debris signature. Moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. So a confirmed tornado is down north of Interstate 10, coming up on Blaylock Road in Spring Valley, just north of Hunters Creek Village. This circulation and possibly tornado, if it stays down, will be crossing over Highway 290 near Lockfield Street within the next 5 to 10 minutes. A tornado warning continues through 12:15 a.m. this morning. It includes central and northern Harris County. This does include the cities of Aldine, Kingwood, Mount Houston, northern sides of the Houston metro area. Includes Interstate 45 from essentially the south side of Spring all the way down to just north of downtown. It includes Interstate 69 from near Loop 8 down to Interstate 610 in Harris County. So, again, a confirmed tornado now near Spring Valley, coming up on Clay Road and Bingle Road. And we'll switch back over to the velocity data. You can see it's backed off a bit, so that really tight couplet we had a minute ago is gone, which is what we expected, honestly. We expected a brief tornado. We're not expecting these to stay down long. Switch back over to the debris tracker, and I expect if it's not gone, it will be shortly. Make sure I have the appropriate data on. And there, it's gone. So it was there for a couple minutes. So I can tell you now, with no doubt whatsoever, that we did have a confirmed tornado just north of Interstate 10, just north of Hedwick Village, near Spring Valley, about 3 to 4 minutes ago. The tornado debris signature that was there is gone. So, as we switch back over to the which way the wind is blowing mode, you can see the parent circulation still exists. We've got winds moving away from the radar down in Dickinson about 52 miles an hour. Winds moving towards the radar about 25. So circulations come down to about 75 miles per hour. Notice how we're broadened out a bit over the last few minutes. Instead of having that really tight circulation with the pinks and reds right against the greens, we've broadened back out. And that's what we expect. These are cyclic thunderstorms where you may have a tornado down for a minute or two, but then the circulation weakens, the tornado lifts, and we'll start to see the process go again here in a few minutes if the ingredients come together. Those of you asking about Katie. Yeah, Katie's good. Let me go ahead and real quick, thank you for asking, by the way. I want to talk about who's in this warning, who's not. If you are in this red shaded box, you are in the tornado warning. If you are outside the red shaded box, you are not. Those of you in the tornado warning, Hunters Creek, Spring Village, Aldine, Mount Houston, Kingwood, northwest sides of the Houston metro, Jersey Village, you're not in the tornado warning. North Houston, this little community, whatever, up on the northwest sides, you're not in this tornado warning. Intercontinental Airport, you're not in the tornado warning. Humble, you're not in the tornado warning. If the storm continues, you will be in a tornado warning once the storm gets a little more to the northeast. So let's talk a little nerdy meteorology. Had a tornado back with this circulation 5 minutes ago. Tornado hopefully has lifted, the tornado debris signature dissipated. What we likely have ongoing now is a new circulation. This is the occlusion process where old circulation dies out, moves a little more left of the mean flow, so in this case more northerly. This would be the new circulation starting to develop if we follow a typical cyclic process where the old circulation weakens, dissipates, and we see a new one form. So that would be a new circulation starting to set up right on Highway 290, coming up to West 43rd Street, Bingle Road area. And again, this is not a situation where we're expecting these storms to just keep, dropping tornadoes every couple of minutes. It's a situation where we might see a brief tornado here, a brief tornado there. We're not expecting numerous tornadoes tonight, but at the same time, Mommy Nature does not care what I say or what we think, so that's why we're here talking about it and keeping y'all up to date. You can keep an eye on the sky with the interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar, and in our free mobile app. We're streaming live video to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and in our mobile app and website. We do note there is flash flooding ongoing in west central and southwest Harris County. Looks like they've had 2.5 inches of rain in the last 30 minutes. So let me turn the flash flood warning polygon on and you'll see it. So again, down here, southwestern, west central Harris County, pretty much where this storm has moved over the last 30 minutes. Heavy rainfall, the potential for street flooding definitely there. Could see some pretty quick rises on the streams and bayous. Let's switch back over, well, here, let's do this. Let's go look at this severe thunderstorm warning up near Cleveland with a storm showing decent mid-level rotation. Yeah, some decent mid-level rotation indeed. This is a thunderstorm that was previously tornado warned back near spring. Looks like the circulation aloft is starting to increase again, so those of you in Cleveland to Splendora, keep a heads up just in case the circulation intensifies any further, because a tornado warning would then be necessary and we'd see one issued. So, Cleveland, Splendora, keep your eyes up. Watch the supercell coming in from your southwest, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. As it stands now, we could see some very strong gusty winds on the rear flank downdraft up to 60 miles an hour. But again, we're seeing some decent mid-level rotation with this thunderstorm moving towards Cleveland and Splendora. For good measure, I'll make a scary circle, promote my horrible drawing skills. There you go, horrible driving skills. That calls for more caffeine. That was caffeine. So there's that. But the reason we're here chatting with you at a beautiful 12:06 on the 9th of January here at Sunday morning is for rain wrap tornado. It's going to be a tornado warning. Let me get back down on my other radar stream and we'll head down and take a look. Jason, let me know if you're watching. We're going to go ahead and switch back over to, well, here, looking at rain, it's a big blob. You know, it's pouring rain, flooding, etc. You know, the typical for Houston. That's what happens. It pours, it floods, etc. Yeah, not a surprise. Looking at the velocity data, you get a better picture. And that is areas of rotation. Now I'm going to circle them. Area broad rotation here. Had a brief tornado 10 minutes ago with this circulation back towards just north, around Spring Valley, north of Hunters Creek Village, north of Interstate 10. Watching this area of secondary rotation starting to develop, and you can kind of see we've got a little pendant right there. So we'll have to keep an eye on circulation number 1, and then this pendant area that's trying to develop a secondary circulation back farther southwest, south of Interstate 10, coming up on Loop 8. So we'll have to keep an eye on that just in case we get some spinning mischief. What I think is going on, I'm fairly confident we've got a boundary in this area, either from thunderstorms earlier Saturday or just overall from the Gulf of Mexico, that's helping to locally enhance low-level wind shear and helping provide just enough energy to produce what was a brief tornado 5-10 minutes ago just north of Hunters Creek Village. So again, we're not dealing with long-lived, violent tornadoes that are down for dozens of minutes. We're dealing with these brief transient circulations that are capable of producing brief tornadoes that are down for maybe a minute and are capable of producing low-end tornado damage. Nevertheless, you need to treat them seriously. Doesn't matter if it's low-end tornado damage. If you're not careful and taking things seriously, the flying debris, broken glass, pieces of wood, you know, tree limbs, well, you ever see what happens when a tree limb goes through human flesh? It's not pretty. Trust me, I've seen it. So that's why you take these things seriously. Lowest floor, center room, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. I know there's a lot of apartment communities here. Just get as low as you can. If If you're on the second floor and you can't get any lower, okay, just go into the centermost room you can get. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. This isn't a situation where I think we're going to be losing entire floors of buildings from these brief tornadoes. So I'm mainly concerned about flying debris that can be, well, shrapnel that can cause injuries. So that's why we want folks to get as low as you can get, but put as many walls between you and the outside as possible to provide a barrier between any sort of flying debris outside and you. And we definitely want folks to be in rooms without windows. We don't want anyone getting impacted or injured by flying glass. So let me zoom out again. We're going to turn off the radar. If you are in the red shaded box, northwest sides of the Houston Metro from Spring Valley up to Aldine, just north of downtown Houston, Mount Houston included, you are in the tornado warning polygon. If you are outside the red shaded box, ripped to mouse, you are not in any tornado warnings. You're fine. I know it's loud, it's pouring, it's storming, it's probably blowing a bit too, but you're not in the tornado warning. Let me highlight the warning box I'm talking about. That. If you're in this box, you're in a tornado warning, you need to take action. If you're outside this box, you are not in a tornado warning. You're fine. You don't need to take action. It's as simple as that. Tornado warning polygon 101. Respect the polygon. You'll be a-okay. So, zoom back out. We'll take a look at the regional view. Yeah, we've got some heavy rain from southwest Harris County down into Fort Bend County, moving northeast, kind of almost training, producing very heavy rainfall and flash flooding. We've got a severe thunderstorm northeast of Woodlock, moving towards the city of Cleveland, just northwest of Splendora. This thunderstorm is capable of producing damaging straight-line winds up to 60 miles an hour, and yes, it does show some rotation aloft. Aloft being the key word, since you don't want it at the surface. That's a tornado. No tornado warning at this time. The rotation is simply not strong enough to warrant it. Unlike the circulation that is now northeast of Spring Valley that put a brief tornado down about 10 to 15 minutes ago. No tornado debris signature, which is good. Looking at the velocity, as my voice goes out, excuse me, we see it's relatively disorganized. Let me go ahead and highlight a couple things. This is an area of broad rotation, not concise. Think of a ballerina or a skater. When they bring their arms in and spin, they spin even faster than when their arms are out. When they do this, they spin faster. Same principle applies to the dynamics of rotation and low-level circulation. So that's what we're watching for, broad area of rotation. We have a secondary area of rotation that has developed a bit further southwest. It's going to be on Interstate 10 near Gessner Road, moving northeast towards Blaylock Road, essentially the same areas that were hit by the brief tornado 10 minutes ago. Neither of these is showing indications of actually having a tornado down this second, but we're watching them since the environment locally does seem supportive for brief tornado genesis. And so that's what's going on. Again, we're not dealing with long track significant tornadoes here. We're dealing with stuff that can be down for a minute or two and then lift back up. It's not like the crazy tornado videos you see on YouTube from, say, Kentucky last month, or some of the awesome, I say crazy, tornado videos we have on our YouTube channel that show these large tornadoes just sucking everything up and throwing stuff half a mile away. We're talking about small, brief tornadoes that are down for maybe 20, 30 seconds that can damage roofs, knock down fences, knock some trees down, etc. There's no reason to be afraid. There's really not. I mean, it's not going to help you. You literally are going to be absolutely fine if you simply lowest floor, center room, Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Trust me, if I wanted to scare you, I could scare you. This is not a situation where you need to be scared. This isn't a situation where we're talking about a half-mile wide tornado leveling everything in its path with a satellite scar you're going to see from space. No, this is a situation where we could have a EF0, EF1 type tornado down for 30 seconds perhaps. So, with that being said, tornado warning technically expires at 12:15 for Harris County. We'll see if the National Weather Service issues a new one. They haven't so far, so technically we no longer have a tornado warning for Harris County. We no longer have any tornado warnings in Texas. So, that being said, we're still going to be keeping an eye out on the areas of rotation. We've still got some weak to moderate rotation near Interstate 10, it's west of Spring Valley, coming up on Blaylock Road. But you kind of see these areas are broad, they're not super organized. It's kind of like the thunderstorm has multiple circulations just all trying to fight each other for the same energy, which is good because then, they can't really take all of the energy. They're fighting each other. I guess that's one way to put it. So if that continues, that's good. We don't see signs there's tornadoes down at the moment, and we don't have any tornado warnings. We'll look further northeast. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Cleveland, Texas, up Interstate 69. Some weak rotation aloft and the potential for some damaging straight line winds up to 16 miles an hour. Well, yeah, that's a normal day in Texas, up to 60 miles an hour. So, let's go ahead and switch views. Since we don't have any tornado warnings, I want to talk about the hydro-meteorological impacts. Let's go ahead and take a look at radar estimated rains over the last hour. I'm trying to see which product is more realistic. So this is just what the radar thinks we have rain-wise over the last hour. So we're talking about rainfall within the last hour of up to 3 inches in the vicinity of Mission Bend, Addicks, Hunters Creek Village. And this is certainly capable of producing rapid rises on streams. Nothing that I think would exceed the banks of said streams, but definitely a lot of street flooding. And just a lot of heavy rain you don't want to be out driving in. So that's why the Weather Service in Houston has a flash flood warning out for these areas. It includes Hunters Creek Village, Bunker Hill Village, Piney Point Village, Spring Branch West, Spring Branch North, Spring Valley, Eastern Addicks, Park 10, Eldridge, West Oaks, Mission Bend, Hedwick Village, Hillshire Village, Briar Forest, West Chase, Midwest, Sharpstown, Spring Branch Central, West Branch, and Alief. And so again, that's a flash flood warning. Now, you see this orange box that just showed up? That is a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, I'll turn the radar off for a second so you can see that's a severe thunderstorm warning. Not a tornado warning, so a downgrade. This means you could have some 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gust, but not a tornado. Rotation's not strong enough for a tornado at this point is what it means. So we're keeping an eye on things, but at this point, there are no tornado warnings in the Houston metro. We have no tornado warnings in Texas whatsoever, which means I have a minute to check out our chats. Those of you in Sugarland, you're fine. If you're west of this line of thunderstorms, you're done. And frankly, 90+% of the storms we've had today, no problems at all, just some heavy rain. That'll be the story through the night. There are no tornado warnings at the moment. None. Zero. No tornado warnings. If you're in shelter, you could stay in shelter if it makes you feel better. There's nothing wrong with being in shelter. But in terms of our messaging, the thunderstorms from Spring Valley up to Alding, a lot of heavy rainfall, gusty winds. Could be winds strong enough to knock some tree limbs down, maybe some power outages. I know the cloud-to-ground lightning's insane right now. It's louder than fireworks. But in terms of a tornado issue, no, we do not have any tornado warnings right now. Zero. So if you don't want to shelter at the moment, you're fine. You can come on out. I mean, I wouldn't go outside and play in the rain, that's for sure, but to each their own. If you want to get struck by lightning, I'm not one to stop you. It's your own personal choice. Those of you in the southeastern Houston metro, you are high and dry at the moment. You'll likely see some rain over the next few hours as this broken line of showers and storms moves east-northeast. But places like Pasadena, Brookside Village, down to Hobby Airport, down to Dickinson, after some storms earlier Saturday, y'all are high and dry right now. You can probably see a pretty good lightning show if you look to your northwest. Those of you up in Cleveland, you've got a severe storm coming to say hello to town. Potential for some 50 to 60 mile an hour winds possible. And yes, these storms do have the potential of producing some gusty winds, again, 50 to 60 miles an hour, rotating aloft, but not showing signs of strong low level rotation or tornado genesis. If we take a look at the wind velocity mode, you can see we don't have any areas of organized rotation. We're watching very weak rotation aloft coming up to Highway 249 and Interstate 45. That's normal. Let me be abundantly clear. Every shower and thunderstorm today, over the last 15 hours aloft, has been spinning like a top. That's normal. As long as that rotation doesn't extend to the surface in the form of a tornado, and at this time we don't see anything like that ongoing or imminent. So, if y'all got woken up by tornado warnings going off on your phone, those tornado warnings expired at 12:15, 6 minutes ago. There are no tornado warnings. Everybody, it'll be okay. No tornado warnings. I'm not telling you to go to shelter now. It's okie dokie. And we're still keeping an eye on him, mind you. Trust me, we're watching him like a hawk. If there is any indication one of these is trying to organize enough to put a tornado down again, there'll be a new tornado warning. Your phones will make all sorts of scary noises again, and we can go through this whole charade and routine once again. But again, this thunderstorm moving up towards Aldine in the western parts of Houston near, say, Hunters Creek Village. It's pouring, it's storming, it's blowing, but there's no indications we have a tornado in progress. There's some rotation aloft we're watching, but down at the surface, we do not see anything that suggests there's a tornado imminent or ongoing. So, with that being said, y'all can keep an eye on the sky with us at texasstormchasers.com/radar with our free interactive weather radar on our website. And you can also keep an eye on our radar live streams, etc., with our free mobile app at texasstormchasers.com as well. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers in your phone's app store. If you're Google Play, Apple App Store, whatever they call the thing now, you can find us. And we're in your app store. You can download our app. This live video you've been watching is in our mobile app directly. And we've got all sorts of cool articles, written articles, talking about upcoming weather, etc. So, now that we don't have tornado warnings, I'll go ahead. We'll switch over to a different radar product and we'll loop it. We'll just take a look at the last hour. I'll zoom out. I'm going to tidy up some things, make the city labels a little less widespread, just so we can see what's going on. This is just radar over the last hour, and you can see we've got plenty of showers and thunderstorms ongoing across the piney woods of East Texas, outside of the Houston metro. We've had the tornado warnings earlier shown in the red boxes around the west and north sides of Houston. But further north, places like Hemphill, you've got a pretty strong-looking thunderstorm heading your way. A lot of cloud-to-ground lightning, maybe some small hail possible, but no tornado warnings. That storm's about to move into Pineland on Highway 96. I'm looking off the screen right now, just at some different radar data with those thunderstorms, maintaining situational awareness. I don't see any indication those storms up in the Piney Woods coming up to Hemphill or Pineland are producing tornadoes. A lot of heavy rain, some small hail, gusty winds, much needed rainfall, mind you. This area of Texas is starting to enter a drought like areas farther west. We don't want that. And the only warnings we have right now, excluding flash flood warnings shown in the green colors, are severe thunderstorm warnings. And we have two of them. One for the west side and north side of the Houston metro, roughly from let's just say Hunters Creek Village, Mission Bend, northeast to Alding. Second severe thunderstorm capable of producing strong wind gusts is coming into the town of Cleveland at the moment on Highway 59. No tornado warnings, nothing that screams we're going to have tornadoes in the next few minutes. Hope we can't rule out additional brief tornado warnings over the next several hours across southeast Texas, but for now, it appears we are done for the moment with tornado warnings. If that happens to change, we will be back quite quickly. But for now, we'll leave you. You can keep an eye on the radar with our interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar. I suppose there's nothing wrong with me just leaving the radar up here on mute for now, and we'll keep an eye on it. So keep an eye on the sky. We'll be back here, or I'll be back here with commentary if a tornado warning is issued. Otherwise, I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes, and we'll just leave the radar on here with this live stream. I'm David-Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. Don't forget to download our free mobile app. Thanks for watching this evening. Glad you were able to join us and get some information on the ongoing severe weather in southeast Texas. For those of you joining us this evening or this morning, good morning. I'm David Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. It's 12:27 on Sunday, the 9th of January, 2022. We have no tornado warnings in effect at this time. We do have multiple flash flood warnings for thunderstorms producing heavy rainfall up to 3 inches per hour across the west and north sides of the Houston metro. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings. One severe thunderstorm near Cleveland, Texas, the potential for damaging straight line winds up to 60 miles an hour. A second severe thunderstorm capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour winds is approaching Alding on the north side of the Houston metro. All these thunderstorms, regardless of if they are severe or not, are producing very heavy rainfall and an abundant amount of cloud-to-ground lightning. There are no tornado warnings in effect, although these thunderstorms are rotating aloft. There are no indications of tornadoes being produced at this time or within the next several minutes. We're keeping an eye on things, but again, there are no tornado warnings. Everything is good. Again, hello, I'm David Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers, coming up to 12:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 9th of January, 2022. We have no tornado warnings in effect any longer. Tornado warnings expired at 12:15. We're still monitoring thunderstorms with gusty winds and heavy rain around the Houston metro, up Highway 59 to Cleveland. We'll go ahead and terminate this live stream for now since there are no tornado warnings. However, be assured, we'll be back if a new tornado warning is issued. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube to be notified when we go live and see our other storm chasing related videos, of which I think you're going to like our plans for 2022. So we'll be here and again. And keep an eye on the radar, texasstormchasers.com/radar, or in the Texas Storm Chasers free mobile app available on Android and Apple devices. We'll be back if necessary. Otherwise, y'all have a great night. God bless.